Thanks for joining me in the workshop. Just a quick update video on some of my dust extraction equipment. My workshop has kind of been evolving over years actually. And, you find ways to improve upon old ideas, to make things better. And I recently had a visit from a friend of mine, Bill, and he's a health and safety man and works for one of the big corporations. And one of his specialised subjects is dust extraction. Now, I was very fortunate to have my dust extractor system installed for me by a very good friend, John Lane. But John put all the ducting in for me and then left it for me to finish off the actual extraction points around the machines. And so in my ignorance I thought at the time that if I had a pipe coming up that would be sufficient. And then my friend Bill explained to me about airflow and how you can improve, or how I could improve the point of extraction of the dust, because one thing that's really hit home, and I didn't realise when I first started knife making, just how dusty this job really is, and the dust, it gets absolutely everywhere. And I've also got a dust extractor sort of workshop air filtration system, and I have to regularly de-dust that, or just get the dust out of the machine. So the dust particles go everywhere, so you've really got to be paying attention to dust extraction. So what I've done, Bill gave me some pointers, and he said, really you just want a flat plate. And so I've just produced these two flat plates. I've got two 2x72 grinders here. Each of them has a flat plate now, and each of them, the dust extraction happens more or less from the surface of the plate. So this means now that when the dust hits the surface of the plate, the airflow is coming around, from a 360-degree area, and so it's just the dust has just got to hit the plate, and it will be drawn in to the extraction point. This is good because this system doesn't require any adjustment of the extraction point. So it doesn't matter if I'm using different sized belts or different sized wheels. If the dust is hitting the plate back here, it will simply hit the surface of the plate and then move with the airflow and down through the actual extraction point. Currently this grinder is set up with a platen, but I can show you that, and the extraction, the dust would be hitting the plate more or less perfectly into the centre of the hole there, which is by design, because that's where a lot of the dust is going to strike. So it makes common sense to make it hit at the most efficient point. But if I use a different wheel, a different setup, the dust extraction point will be further back, and it's going to come down further out. But it should still mostly be collected in the dust extraction point. There may be a little bit of overspill. Nothing's perfect, and my workshop is still a work in progress. So that's what I've done. I guess with advantage I could have brought this out a little bit further, but then you've got to think also that you're going to be working close by, and some of the bigger wheels, it could get in the way. So that's pretty much ideal for me at the moment. I think the best compromise that I can come up with. On the small wheel attachment, you can see that the actual wheel is overhanging the actual dust extraction point by a good 3 inches. In actual fact, it's probably coming right down to the end here. But because the wheels are tending to do this, the belt's tending to do this, it tends to drag the dust that way, and so Again, it's just going to hit mostly onto the flat surface and then be drawn into the extraction point. Well, hopefully that's given you some idea of the bit of knife handle shaping. There's the handle that's roughly shaped at the moment. Still a lot of work to do. We've got a little bit of dust here which hasn't been collected, and a little bit there. The floor, just panning down to the floor, is quite clean, so not getting a lot of spillover, I'd like to say. Just a little tiny bit down there. It does appear that most of the dust is going down the chute, which is where we want it to go, of course. So this handle, it is oversized at the moment. I always take it a little bit oversized. I'm going to lose a little bit more dimension when I do all the hand sanding on it and finishing. But you can see just a very coarse hourglass figure's been cut into the actual scales, or the palm swell. And it's beginning to feel really, really comfortable. So now on to the next stage of getting this towards its completed finished product. Now I've got to this stage with the shaping. I'm quite happy with the symmetry of the scales. It's just now a matter of progressing through the grits to finer and finer grits, and then finally giving the handle a polish. At this stage I've still probably got about an hour's worth of work left to do before it's finished. Sometimes when you're shaping the actual handles, the actual the leather bolts in this case, being made of brass, which is harder than the surrounding wood, can become slightly proud, and you can just feel them. I found an ideal way to actually get them all down flush with the wood is to use a large wheel, and then to offer the knife so that the apex or the tangent area hits the actual leather bolt, and then you can just take it down. The larger the wheel the better, but these wheels don't come cheap. This wheel, I think it's a 14-inch or a 16-inch wheel. This is about £300 just for the wheel itself. And that's all it needs to take that slight bump out, and that's now perfectly flat. I've had this cheap, I don't know what you call it actually, just a cheap vice with plastic jaws. This part of the vice is metal, but the jaws are plastic, and it's ideal for clamping the blade into, and it gives me full access along the whole of the knife from the very pommel right to the very tip, and so I can then get a nice finish along that with no transitions. Here's another little tip: cleaning out the lanyard tube. What often happens is an layer of oxide forms inside the actual tube. So I made this little holder out of a nail, and I used a hacksaw blade and cut a slot, and then that just holds a piece of emery nicely, and I can feed that through into the lanyard tube. And it just cleans the inside of the tube for me. I've gone through all the polishing papers now and taken the handle to a nice fine finish, and I'm just going to give it, although I do stabilise most of my knife handles, and in this case this is stabilised massa birch, I still like to finish it with oil. It just helps the grain to pop a little bit, and although it doesn't soak into the oil, although the oil doesn't soak into the handle material very far, it does seem to just coat the surface nicely and just offer that little bit of extra protection. Danish oil it polymerises quite quickly, and so this is a natural blend, so natural colours. It doesn't dye the wood at all, and you can put on several coats and leave it to dry, and then it will polish up quite nicely. As with all these oils, you need to also be careful with how you dispose of the rag afterwards, because there is, I believe, there is a chance that it can spontaneously combust, so you want to make sure you put these away in a safe place, not leave them in the workshop overnight. otherwise I might not have a workshop the next day. As I said earlier, this one has stabilised massa birch, scales, black G10 liners, loveless bolts, a tapered tang, and an 01 high carbon tool steel blade. I just have the leather work to do for that knife now, and that one will be finished and on its way out to its new owner. Hope this video has been of help to some of you. I know there's a few people that are interested in how I build my knives and what the workshop's like now. I find that my workshop has been sort of constantly evolving over time with improvements. It takes a lot of time and quite a bit of money to set up a decent workshop, so it's something that does happen gradually with time, I think. I'd like to thank Bill Hambleton for giving me some of the advice and for bringing his measuring equipment out and testing the extraction. And I think now I'm pretty happy. There's not a lot of dust in the workshop. The dust extraction ports seem to be working very well. So thanks for the tip there, Bill. And also John Lane, if you're watching, thanks also for your kind input in my workshop as well. That was a great help to me. I'm not uploading so many videos to this channel on YouTube now. I will be doing a video whenever I can get around to it, whenever I think of an idea which will make a worthwhile video. It's just having the other channel. I've got another channel called Wiltshire Man, which is where I seem to upload more regularly my normal interest range that I put on there, you know, my hobbies and my interests basically. But this channel is not. I'm not neglecting this channel. It's just that you know, I just don't at the moment have a particular huge amount to share with you. And I think over the years, you know, I've shared sort of most of my processes really, so it's very hard to now think of anything new. But of course, it's an infinite world, and things are evolving and constantly. And I think also, I mean, my level of my game now is a lot higher than it ever has been, because you're always learning. You're never ever at the top of your game. I don't think you're. Well, I'm always striving to try and get better, or find better ways that I can produce the knife quicker and to a higher standard. But unfortunately, with them being hand built and such a lot of hand work goes into them, they're still taking me a considerable amount of time and effort to produce each knife. And in fact, after I've built a batch of knives, I feel like I ran a marathon. It's that tiring, but it's also very, very rewarding. I will try and put up a video on this channel every now and again, so please don't lose interest. Just hang in there, you know. And when I do make a video, hopefully it will be one worth watching rather than just something that's just been chucked together. A bit of thought will go into it. So that's it. See you in my next one. Bye for now.